In the early hours of today, tensions between the United States and Iran reached a critical juncture as U.S. military forces launched an extensive series of strikes against Iranian targets on Kharg Island. This development marks a significant escalation in the ongoing geopolitical conflict, with the stakes now higher than ever. The strikes, confirmed by multiple sources, targeted bunkers and ammunition storage facilities, signaling a decisive move by the U.S. As the clock ticks down to a critical deadline set by former President Donald Trump, President Trump, we have a plan because of the power of our military. Every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night. Every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, never to be used again by 12 o'clock. And it will happen over a period of 4 hours if we want it to. We don't want that to happen. These words underscore the gravity of the situation as the United States places immense pressure on Iran to to the negotiating table. The U.S. has laid out a series of demands aimed at curbing Iran's military capabilities and influence in the region. These demands include the dismantling of certain facilities, missile constraints, and the assurance of safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. In response, Iran has requested no further attacks, war compensation, and the removal of U.S. bases in the region. However, negotiations have stalled, with Iran reportedly stepping back from discussions regarding its nuclear program. As diplomatic efforts falter, the U.S. military is not standing idle. In a daring rescue operation, CENTCOM Admiral Cooper directed a strike against the IRGC headquarters in Tehran. B-2 bombers employing bunker-busting bombs targeted these strategic sites. The United States has maintained its ability to operate freely over Iranian skies, with special forces executing a successful mission to retrieve a stranded airman. In a post on Truth Social, Donald Trump further raised the stakes, stating, "Asterisk, whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Now that we have complete and total regime change, different, smarter, and less radical minds prevail. Maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of corruption and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Asterisk, this announcement, laden with strong language, leaves no doubt about the seriousness of the situation. While maintaining a hard stance, the former president expressed a hope for a peaceful resolution, albeit acknowledging the dire consequences if Iran does not comply. Israeli forces, too, are on high alert, having advised civilians to avoid using railroads in light of the escalating situation. Israeli military sources indicate that Iran's energy sector is a critical vulnerability. Irritability, with approximately 50% of its GDP tied to energy exports. Kharg Island, where 90% of Iran's oil exports originate, has been a focal point of recent U.S. strikes. This strategic targeting underscores the intent to cripple Iran's economic lifeline, thereby coercing the regime into compliance. As the deadline looms, the international community watches with bated breath. The potential for wide-scale conflict poses significant risks not only to regional stability, but also to global economic markets, particularly given Iran's role as a major oil exporter. Trey Yingst, reporting from Tel Aviv, noted, having spoken with President Trump over the weekend, he's not bluffing as it relates to targeting Iran's power plants and bridges. He is serious. If there is not a deal, there will be heavy consequences. The stakes of the deadline are undeniable, with the final moments providing an off-ramp for the Iranians to avert disaster. Iran, for its part, is reportedly urging its youth to form human chains around power plants in an act of defiance and protection. This move, if executed, would contravene international law, adding another layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. Behind the scenes, preparations are underway in both the United States and Israel as part of Operation Epic Fury, an initiative involving meticulous contingency planning and coordination. This operation has seen B-2 bombers dropping bunker-busting bombs on key Iranian military sites, further escalating the military engagement between these nations. In a rapidly evolving situation, reliable information becomes critical. Israeli officials have confirmed that strikes against rail infrastructure are already in progress, with a clear warning issued to civilians to stay clear of such areas. The strategic targeting of infrastructure signals a calculated approach to weaken Iran's logistical capabilities, further intensifying the pressure on the regime. As the situation develops, it remains to be seen whether diplomatic channels can prevail or if military actions will dictate the course of events. The implications of this confrontation extend far beyond the immediate region, with potential ramifications for international relations and global economic stability. The next few hours could prove pivotal in determining the trajectory of this high-stakes geopolitical geopolitical conflict. The situation between the United States and Iran continues to escalate, with tensions reaching a fever pitch as both nations brace for potential military confrontation. In the latest development, U.S. forces have executed a significant military operation against Iranian targets on Kharg Island, a strategic location known for its oil export facilities. This move highlights the increasing pressure on Iran from the U.S. administration, which has set a critical deadline for Iran to comply with a series of demands. Former U.S. President Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social, emphasized the seriousness of the U.S. position, stating, "We have a plan because of the power of our military. Every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night. Every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, never to be used again by 12 o'clock, and it will happen over a period of 4 hours if we want it to. We don't want that to happen." This statement underscores the gravity of the situation and the potential for widespread destruction if diplomatic efforts fail to yield results. The demands placed by the United States on Iran are extensive and aimed at significantly curbing Iran's military and strategic capabilities. Key among these demands are the dismantling of certain military facilities, the imposition of missile constraints, and assurances for the safe passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. On the other side, Iran has requested a halt to further attacks, compensation for wartime damages, and the removal of U.S. military bases from the region. Despite these positions, negotiations have hit an impasse, particularly with Iran stepping back from discussions regarding its nuclear program. Amidst the diplomatic standoff, the U.S. military has not remained idle. In a bold and strategic move, CENTCOM Admiral Cooper directed an operation targeting the headquarters of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, in Tehran. This operation involved B-2 bombers deploying bunker-busting munitions to effectively neutralize key Iranian military sites. The U.S. has demonstrated its capability to operate with impunity in Iranian airspace, evidenced by successful Special Forces missions, including the rescue of a stranded airman. The geopolitical stakes are heightened by the strategic significance of Iran's energy infrastructure, particularly on Kharg Island, which accounts for a substantial portion of Iran's oil exports. The targeting of this island by U.S. forces is a calculated move aimed at crippling Iran's economic lifeline and forcing the regime to reconsider its stance. A senior Israeli official speaking on condition of anonymity highlighted that Iran's energy infrastructure is its Achilles heel, a vulnerability that both the United States and its allies are exploiting to exert maximum pressure on Tehran. While these military maneuvers unfold, the situation on the ground remains tense. Reports indicate that Iranian authorities are attempting to rally public support by encouraging youth to form human chains around critical infrastructure, such as power plants, in a bid to deter U.S. strikes. However, such actions raise legal and ethical questions under international law. Former President Trump's recent statements on Truth Social have added a layer of complexity to the unfolding drama. In a post, he warned, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will." Now that we have complete and total regime change, different, smarter, and less radical minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of corruption and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. This declaration, laden with both foreboding and a hint of hope for a post-conflict future, suggests a readiness for a significant shift in the region's power dynamics. The reference to regime change implies a strategic goal that goes beyond immediate military objectives, aiming for a long-term transformation of Iran's political landscape. The situation has also drawn in regional players, particularly Israel, which has reportedly commenced strikes against Iranian rail infrastructure. This move is part of a broader strategy to disrupt Iran's logistical capabilities and further isolate the regime. The coordination between U.S. and Israeli forces underscores the international dimension of the conflict and the shared interest in curbing Iranian influence in the region. As the deadline approaches, the international community watches with bated breath. The potential for a large-scale military confrontation looms, with significant implications for global stability and security. The United States, under the leadership of former President Trump, has signaled its willingness to escalate the conflict if necessary, but also maintains a preference for a diplomatic resolution. In conclusion, the unfolding events in the U.S.-Iran standoff represent a critical juncture in international relations. The actions taken by the United States alongside its allies reflect a strategic calculus aimed at compelling Iran to alter its course. As the clock ticks down to the deadline, the world awaits the outcome of this high-stakes geopolitical chess game with the hope that diplomacy can prevail over the specter of war.